The wind howled outside the nursing home windows, shaking the glass like a warning I couldn't understand. Winter had come early that year, sharp and gray, painting everything in cold silence. It's the kind of silence that doesn't comfort it. Accuse us. I turned my head slowly toward the door of my room. Still no footsteps, still no knock, still no hi, Dad. It had been 7 months since my daughter dropped me off here. She didn't say I'll visit next week or call me. If you need anything, she just looked at her watch and said, I'll text the nurse if something urgent comes up. I remember that moment more vividly than the day I broke my hip, more clearly than the sound of my own ribs cracking in the fall that landed me here. Because that was the day I realized I had become a burden to her, not a father. Not a man who built a life from nothing. It's just a weight. They say getting old is a privilege, maybe, but loneliness, that's a punishment. The first month I kept justifying it. She's busy. Work must be hard. Or maybe she's planning a surprise visit. The second month, I started asking the front desk every weekend if she had called. The third month, I stopped asking, then came the caregiver. A quiet woman named Alma, with tired eyes and a warmth in her voice that made my hands stop shaking. She never asked much, never intruded. But she remembered I liked my tea with lemon. She learned how to adjust my pillows just right so my back wouldn't spasm at night. She brought me books from the public library without ever being asked. I found myself waiting for her shifts. One afternoon, while Alma trimmed my fingernails with the precision of a jeweler, I asked her, "Do you have children?" She smiled faintly. "One son. He's 15. He calls me after school just to ask how I'm doing." I laughed softly, not out of joy, but out of something closer to envy. The next week I had a birthday. I didn't remind anyone. I didn't need to. I just watched the calendar like a countdown to disappointment. Alma brought a cupcake with one candle. The kitchen didn't have vanilla, she said, so I made this one at home last night. I tried not to cry when I blew the candle out. That night I stared at the ceiling for hours. I thought about the house I built brick by brick when my daughter was just 5. I remembered installing the swing set myself because she liked the blue one at the park. I remembered staying up till midnight painting her room yellow when she begged for sunshine walls. And now? Now, she hadn't texted me once in 7 months. The next day, I asked Alma, "Do you know anything about estate lawyers?" She looked up from her clipboard, surprised. A little, "Why?" I didn't answer. Not yet. I wasn't ready to speak. The words out loud, but in my mind, I had already decided. If my daughter couldn't find time to visit the man who raised her, maybe she wouldn't miss the house either. The following weeks blurred into one another, a steady rhythm of oatmeal. Breakfasts, slow walks down the hallway with my walker, and Elma's soft voice reminding me to drink water. Life in the nursing home had a strange kind of monotonous faith, but hollow. You stop living for the future and start surviving in loops. But then, in early spring, something inside me shifted. It started the day I overheard a conversation between 2 other residents in the lounge. Mr. Turner, a retired dentist who still wore button-down shirts every day, was saying something about his granddaughter visiting every weekend. He laughed, telling a nurse that she brought him cookies, helped, cut his nails, even asked about his old coin collection. "I think she's only doing it to make sure I leave her something," he joked. But he said it with pride, not resentment. It was like someone had slapped me. Not because of the inheritance joke, but because I realized I had stopped expecting anything at all. I began to write again, just in a notebook Alma brought me. Not letters to my daughter, those had already been written. And ignored, but notes to myself. Memories, truths, wounds. I wrote about the day I taught my daughter to ride a bike. How she screamed at the top of her lungs when I let go, but then kept pedaling anyway. I wrote about the fight we had when she turned 18 and said she didn't want to go to college. I told her she had to at least try. And she didn't speak to me for 3 weeks. I wrote about the first time she called me. Old-fashioned because I didn't know how to use Venmo. And I wrote about how even after she stopped returning my calls. I still sent her birthday cards without expecting a thank you. By the second week of journaling, Alma noticed, "You're writing a book." She asked, her usual soft smile in place. Maybe, I said, maybe I just don't want my life to disappear without a trace. She didn't say anything for a moment. Then she sat in the chair by my bed and said, "Would you like me to read it when you're done?" That was the first time in years someone had offered to read my words. That evening, I asked one of the nurses to help me schedule a video call with my daughter. I figured, hey, maybe I was being too hard. Maybe she just didn't know how to cope. With my aging Dot, the nurse rang her number. It rang 5 times, then voicemail. "Hi, it's me," I said, forcing a smile at the little camera. "I was wondering if you had time to talk this week. Just for a few minutes." No reply. 2 days later, the nurse told me she had responded with a text. It said, "Can we not do this again? I have a lot going on right now." That night, I made my second decision. I called a lawyer. His name was Mr. Valenti, and he had represented me once before during a property dispute years ago. He remembered me immediately. We scheduled a private meeting at the nursing home. Alma helped me get dressed that morning. She didn't ask questions. But when she wheeled me to the conference room and saw Mr. Valenti waiting with a folder, she paused. "Everything okay?" she asked quietly. I looked her in the eye. "I just need to make sure what I leave behind doesn't go to someone who already left me." Mr. Valenti opened his folder, cleared his throat, and said, "It's good to see you again, sir. I understand you'd like to make some updates to your will." I nodded. Yes, a full revision. I want everything to reflect what actually matters now. He gave me a polite, practiced smile. "May I ask, has your current beneficiary changed?" Didn't hesitate. Yes, she hasn't come here once since I was admitted. Not one visit. No calls, no letters. He glanced at Alma, who was respectfully standing at the door, then looked back at me. "And who do you intend to list as the primary heir?" I looked over my shoulder at her. Alma's eyes widened slightly, but she didn't say anything. "Her," I said. "She's the only person who's treated me like I still matter." Mr. Valenti didn't flinch. He was used to decisions like this, though maybe not always with such clarity. "I can draft the paperwork today," he said, "and include a statement explaining your intent in case it's contested." "It will be," I replied. "But I want to be very clear. This isn't revenge. This is recognition." He nodded. As the lawyer left, I caught Alma still standing near the doorway, unsure if she was allowed to speak. "You heard all that?" I asked. She hesitated. "Yes, sir." I looked down at my hands. "Do you think I'm being unfair?" She stepped forward, kneeling slightly so she could look me in the eyes, I think. People show us who they are when we can't give them anything. You showed me kindness when you had no reason to. You thanked me for things no one else notices. I think you're just being honest. That night I slept more deeply than I had in months. 1 week later, my daughter finally called. Not a video call, just audio, "Dad." She said, her voice casual, like she hadn't ignored me for nearly a year. "Yes, heard you met with a lawyer. What's going on?" I paused. "How did you hear that?" "I got a notification from the house's insurance account. You changed the billing address." I smiled faintly. "Yes, it's part of the update." Silence. "You're changing your will?" she asked. Her voice wasn't angry. It was nervous. "I've already changed it." Another pause. Then, sharper. "To who?" "To someone who remembers I exist." She scoffed. "Seriously, Dad? Don't do this? You're being dramatic." I leaned back against the pillow. "When was the last time you visited me? You know I'm busy. When?" Silence. "I don't know. A few months ago." 8. It's been 8 months. Her tone hardened. "So that's it? You're cutting your own daughter out of your life." "No," I said softly. "You did that a long time ago. I'm just finalizing the paperwork." She hung up. I didn't cry. I didn't feel triumphant either. Just clear. 2 days after. The call a delivery arrived for me at the front desk. Gift basket, cookies, chocolates, and a card that read, "Sorry, I've been distant. Hope you're doing okay. Love, Ava." Alma brought it into my room. She looked at the card, then at me. "Do you want me to leave it here?" "No," I said. "You can take it to the staff break room. I'm sure someone will enjoy it." Night, as Alma helped me to bed. I said something I hadn't told anyone yet. I used to worry that when I died, there'd be nothing left of me. She turned, looking confused. "What do you mean?" "Mean the house, the money, my life. Work? I thought if it went to someone who didn't care, it would all vanish. Like I never existed. But now? I don't feel that anymore." Oh, that's home. Sat down in the chair beside my bed. "You've existed more in the last 3 months than most people do in years." I smiled at that. "Thank you." 2 weeks passed. I didn't hear from Ava again. Mr. Valenti returned with the final documents, all properly notarized and filed. Everything now went to Alma, my home. My remaining assets, even a letter I had written to be read at the will's unveiling. He explained that it would all be legally binding, airtight. Before he left, he looked at me and said, "She may contest it." "I know," I replied. "But it won't change anything." He nodded once. "Then I wish you peace." And I had it. Not because I had taken something from Ava, because I had reclaimed what mattered, the ability to decide. Who deserved the pieces of my story? The nursing home smelled like lavender that day. Alma had brought in fresh sachets for the rooms. As I watched the sun set through the blinds, I whispered to no one in particular, "It's not about who's related by blood, it's about who shows up." And Alma did, every single day. The end came the way most truths do, quiet, unnoticed, and irreversible. I passed some time in the night, between the second round of painkillers and Alma whispering that the rain had finally stopped. No beeping machines, no final goodbyes. Just the soft hum of silence and the warmth of her hand around mine. When the staff called Ava, they said she asked 2 things. Was it sudden? And has the will been opened yet? She flew in the next evening, wearing heels too high for a funeral and makeup too perfect for grief. She didn't go to the nursing home. She didn't ask how I died. She drove straight to the house. She didn't get past the gate. The locks had been changed. A small plaque by the mailbox read, "Property of Alma Reyes." The funeral was modest, exactly how I'd requested. No slideshow, no dramatic speeches, no flowers beyond what grew naturally around the chapel. But the chapel was full. Nurses from the night shift. The janitor who used to slip me crossword puzzles. Even the cook who once made me a birthday pancake when he overheard. I wasn't getting visitors. And Alma. She sat in the front row, hands folded in her lap, the same scarf she always wore. She didn't weep, but her eyes held something far heavier than tears. Loyalty. Ava arrived 5 minutes late. Sat in the back row, sunglasses on, no condolences offered. She crossed her arms and waited. After the closing hymn, Mr. Valenti stepped forward with the envelope. My envelope. My voice on paper. As per Mr. Langston's final request, he began. His will is to be read aloud in the presence of all. Who attended this funeral? Ava scoffed. Seriously? Valenti didn't acknowledge her? To my daughter, Ava. He read, I leave this silence she gave me. Gasps rippled through the room. I leave her the unreturned calls, the unanswered letters, the birthdays forgotten. I leave her the last 9 months of my life, which she chose not to share. And I leave her my hope that one day she understands what presence means. Ava stood. You can't be serious. This is insane. Valenti calmly continued. To Alma Reyes, I leave my home, my accounts, and everything I built. Not because she asked, but because she stayed. Ava's voice cracked. She manipulated him. This is theft. Someone in the pews whispered, You never even came to visit. A nurse added, She was the only one who sat with him at night. Ava turned red. You people don't understand. I'm his daughter. Valenti pulled out the final letter. One I had written months before. He unfolded it slowly. If you're hearing this, it means I've already left. If you're shocked, it means you stopped paying attention a long time ago. Love is not a birthright. It is shown Alma showed up when you didn't. She saw the man, not just the father. She saw the pain, not just the burden. And for that, I give her everything, not as a reward, but as recognition. Ava. If you ever wonder why, look in the mirror. Ask what you gave when I had nothing left to offer. This was not revenge. This was respect for the quiet loyalty that love truly is. The room fell still. Ava didn't speak. She stormed out, her heels clicking furiously across the chapel floor. The echo louder than any goodbye. She had never said. Valenti closed the folder. The room stood in silence for a moment longer. Alma didn't look triumphant. She just closed her eyes as if she could still feel my hand in hers. She whispered one thing barely audible. I'll take care of it. And I knew she would. The house was no longer just wooden walls. It was memory earned and protected. And I had finally gone home.